Hello guys, it's Troy sitting here in Soho in London having a coffee, and I want to talk about how women crush men who put them on a pedestal, okay? Women crush men who pedestalize them. Sadly, it's true, and it's kind of counterintuitive, as with a lot of this stuff, because you would think, logically, that if you like somebody and they like you, then the more love that you show them, the more desire that you show them, the more that you make them aware that they are your one and only, and there's nobody else, and they're the ultimate, and all the rest of it. You would think that would endear you to them, but unfortunately, because of the way that human nature works, that's often not the case. Why is that? Well, it's because we are programmed, stupidly, but this is just how it is, we're programmed to want things that we find it hard to get, okay? We are programmed to want those things that seem to elude us. And the difficulty is that if you are, the archetypal chump, and you get together with this girl, and you guys start dating, and you immediately start to put her on a pedestal, and you're going over the top, particularly in the early stages. The early stages. Later on, of course, you get into something more serious, there's a little bit more leeway, there's a little bit more latitude that's given. But in the early stages, you've got to be really careful. Particularly in this dating marketplace, because, as I say, unfortunately, if you give the house away immediately, okay, or very early on, that is a bit of a turn-off. That's a bit of a turn-off, and women will crush you for doing that, okay? I've seen this happen so many times. It's happened in my life, and it certainly happened with clients that I have worked with. I mean, there's a dude that we're working with at the moment, and I won't go into the full story because obviously it's confidential, but he has really helped out somebody. He's really helped out this woman, and they've got kind of a platonic friendship. There's been a little bit of flirtation, a little bit of kissing here and there and stuff, but it's never progressed further than that. And he's really bent over backwards to help this woman, and now, sadly, it's turned nasty, and she is, obviously we only know his side of the story, but from what he's saying, the way he's describing it, she's now actually treating him quite badly. He's in a bad situation now with this woman, and they're actually living together as well, which obviously only makes things worse or compounds it. So, sadly, there's the old saying, isn't there? No good deed goes unpunished. You've got to be really careful about this stuff, because the more that you give initially, the more likely you are to, get punished for that in the end. I was going to say get taken advantage of, and obviously that can be a risk as well. But in the end, you keep giving, you keep putting her on that pedestal, you keep doing all these things. In the end, any respect that she has for you turns to resentment, okay? Turns to resentment, and then slowly that resentment turns to actual dislike and even hatred. And at that point, you've got to be careful, because you're in very dangerous emotional territory, depending on, what her leverage is as far as you're concerned. If you guys are living together, if you're married, if you're in, some sort of fixed kind of situation, then you start to get into a lot of trouble, okay? So what I would counsel you to do is not to be an arsehole or anything like that. I mean, you've got to obviously treat people with respect, treat people well, treat people kindly, but at the same time, understand the dynamics involved here, and don't find yourself in a position where you're giving too much too quickly. You're putting somebody on that pedestal, you're making them your everything. In this dating marketplace in the West, in the Anglosphere particularly, and even other territories as well, it just doesn't really fly anymore. It just doesn't really fly anymore, because people are so. The problem is, right, we're all so happy and contented. I say happy. I mean, we're all very well fed, for the most part in the West. We're all, in a pretty cushy situation, okay, men and women. And so what that means is people we thrive on chaos as human beings, okay? We thrive on chaos. And if there isn't any chaos in your actual day-to-day life, people will seek to create that chaos for themselves in order to give themselves a bit of a buzz, give themselves a bit of a dopamine hit. You know, it all comes down to dopamine, really. And that's why women like drama, they like chaos, they like the bad boys, they like all this kind of stuff. So if you're not providing any of that, if all you're providing is certainty and security and I will never ever go away because you're so amazing, you know, it might be very nice, it might be very laudable, but it's not particularly a turn on. And, you know, when the attraction goes and then the resentment starts to build, that's when you're in a dodgy kind of situation, certainly as far as, well, you know, it can affect so many things, right? You can just get into a lot of trouble. So be aware of the dynamic and act accordingly. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Link is below. Make sure that you get onto my daily email list. The link is below. And also, if you want to book a free coaching call with me, you should absolutely do that. Again, the link is below. See you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.